What's up, guys? Team Rival here, back with another opinion video. You guys seem to like those, so I will keep those coming. And this time the topic is video games and just the general future of video games. Like, where do video games go from here? Because let's run down the laundry list. We have 3D. We just got the 3DS, and Sony's coming out with a 3D television that is compatible with Resistance. Games are now in 3D. We have motion controls. We have full body control. We have dual screens. We have a whole bunch of other stuff. The next step is pretty much virtual reality, if you think about it. And we really had virtual reality already, shitty it was, in the Virtual Boy. So I think that video games, they don't need to keep on rushing with the systems. Because my logic on this is as such. The technology is very expensive technology. Look at the PS3, for example. The PS3 was a Blu-ray player. It was everything you could ever possibly want in a system when it came out. It was a $600 piece of hardware. That's expensive, especially you expect, your average gamer is probably from, what, 13 to 25, maybe 30. You expect a person that obviously isn't going to have a lot of money to shell out $600 for a piece of equipment. And Sony was still losing money on it. They really didn't gain money on the PS3 until, like, 1 or 2 years ago. So I think personally, they always want to rush out because, Nintendo, they jumped the ball with the 3DS, and look where that got them. They didn't have anyone to develop games for them, so now they had to cut the price, and now the 3DS is $180. It's a great piece of equipment, but there's no games for it, and they need to give time for developers to sort of, because the PS3 and the 360, not so much the Wii, but even the DS, are still viable pieces of hardware, I think, and there's still plenty of great games to be made for them, and I feel like the potential of these systems has not been reached yet. I could probably go another 2 years before they even announce consoles, but now that Nintendo announced the Wii U, they're going to be coming out with the 720 or the Xbox 720, whatever they're going to call it, and the PS4, and these are once again going to become expensive pieces of hardware. Video gaming is becoming very mainstream nowadays. If you don't think it's mainstream already, it is becoming very mainstream. My personal opinion is that it's fucking way too mainstream, I think. So, and with that, you get a lot of shitty games, I think. And that's why, when you look back, maybe, with the PS1 and Super Nintendo, yes, you got shitty games. Of course you got shitty games. You're going to get shitty games no matter what system you're on. But those games were more, I think, playable, and you could find some sort of enjoyment in them. Nowadays, when you get a shitty game, it's just shitty. You don't enjoy it, it's not fun, you wasted your money, it's programmed absolutely terrible, and you feel pissed off because you spent $60 on this. So, what needs to happen, I think, is that people just need to slow down. We just need to slow down. The technology isn't there yet. Hence why we got the, the red ring of death, is because Xbox was really pushing the limit with the 360 as it was. So that's why that problem happened, is because the thing started overheating because it's too fucking, the technology isn't there yet. So I honestly think 2 more years of this console generation before they even start talking about PS4 and 720, which isn't going to happen. We already know that. These systems are coming out, and they're already in development, and they're, oh, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened. But, how do you get much better than what we have already? Think about what we have already right now. With the 360 and the PS3. You can go on the consoles and buy games straight for the console and save them to your hard drive. You can buy, you can get Netflix. You can buy brand new movies that just came out and stream them right from your console. You can buy full games. I'm not talking about, actual games developed for the systems, but like the indie games and the arcade games and those sort of stuff. You can buy those right here. You can freaking video chat if you have a Kinect. You can do a whole bunch of other stuff. You can watch live sports on your 360. There's so many things you can do on these consoles. How do you get much better than this? And the real answer is, you don't. That's why, I think Nintendo has always had the upper hand in this regard, these past 2 generations, is because they come out with these crazy ideas, and people think, oh, this isn't going to work, this isn't going to work. And for some reason, it ends up working. As long as the software is there, which is, Nintendo has a huge problem with not being able to get people to develop for them, for whatever reason. Even with the 3DS, they pledged so much third-party support, and there's literally nothing absolutely nothing to play for 3DS right now. Everyone's looking forward to Kid Icarus and Star Fox, and pretty much only Nintendo offerings. There's a few third-party, titles coming out, but they're not the must-have titles for the 3DS. So, I think, personally, that they should really just, have some sort of, game plan before they go in and announce these systems. Because the Wii U, what games did they announce for the Wii U that were, actual titles that were designed exclusively for the Wii U? We had, Ninja Gaiden 3. That's already coming out on 360 and PS3. We had, Arkham City. That's going to be long out on the 360 and the PS3 before it comes out on the Wii U. Darksiders 2, for example. And the list goes on. So, that's been a really big problem, I think, with almost all of these consoles, is that you either get multiplats, where, you only buy it for one system, or you get, like, the occasional exclusive that's actually, like, really awesome and really worth playing. So, and another thing I'm really not enjoying about video games nowadays is, what is with these graphics? I mean, yes, the graphics are really astounding, and they're top of the line, but why the hell is, you have this power and this capability to create these beautiful, like, graphics, and then in Gears of War, yeah, the game might look nice and have nice textures and everything, but the game is fucking gray. It's just a shit of gray. That's all it is, just absolute shit gray. Like, that's not an enjoyable thing for me to look at. I don't want to look at that. That just reminds me of depression, like the 1930s, the Great Depression, like. And even with Call of Duty and those sort of games, Battlefield. I'm really looking forward to Battlefield 3, but why aren't these games, exploding with color? Child of Eden is a great example of how a video game should be made. It should be a beautiful thing to look at. You should always be like, wow, holy shit, this is just a mind-blowing, like there's colors everywhere, it's beautiful, it's graphic, and it's visual. And nowadays, they want to make these war games, and they want to make games that are for, American audiences, so they make them gray. Oh, it's war, war is only gray. Well, when you're fighting in a war, you see it in the same color as you see it when you're not fighting in the war. So they should probably try and, make the games a little bit more, like, breathtaking and more of like a visual, like, orgasm for your eyes, to put it that way. So, I'm a huge gamer, and I will always enjoy games, and I will always play games, but, I don't know if I'm the only one here. I know I've talked to a few other people, but how much more of this same sort of console cycles can I go through before, I just have to cut it off and say, you know what, I can't afford to do this anymore. It's just not something that is in my budget. And I think that's going to happen, as I grow up, is that the games are going to get more expensive. Maybe someday we'll see $65, $70 games. I really pray and hope we don't, but we might. You never know. I never thought we saw $60 games. I thought games would always be $50, and look at us now. We're at $60 games. So what makes 70 out of the question? And what makes them, stop from making a fucking $700 console? They wouldn't sell, but it's not out of the question. So I just don't know. I'm very uncertain on the future of video gaming. They're coming out with a whole bunch of cool stuff, and I mean, it's cool that it's mainstream, because that means, people are going to take it more seriously, and the technology will really develop, because people will be interested in seeing what the capabilities of these consoles can do, and you'll get things like the 3DS and the Wii U and all sorts of crazy, the Kinect and the Move, even if you consider the Move, a piece of shit, which I do, but hey, at least it's a cool piece of technology, even though it's completely ripped off of the Wiimote and the Wii Nunchuck. So I don't know, what kind of killer consoles are they going to come out with? What sort of killer apps are they going to come out with? Is the iPads and the iPhones and the Androids, and the fact that you can get games very, very cheap, damn near almost free for these games, and have them hold your attention much longer than you pay for a $60 game, is that going to kill consoles? I think there's a very high possibility of that happening, I think. Because, it's cheaper, you pay for the iPad, you have the phone already, and it's not like it's just a video game console, which this is essentially just a video game console, the 360 and the PS3. Like I said, they have a whole bunch of different other features, But if you're not a video game enthusiast, you're not going to get much use out of these systems. Whereas with a phone or an iPad, you don't have to necessarily be a video game enthusiast to buy these games and enjoy the hardware that you have in the iPad and the phones and all of that. So that's a pretty scary thought, I think. Hopefully some visionaries come up, like the next Miyamoto or the next Kojima or something like that, that'll be able to bring a brand new, like, fresh IP and just totally blow all of our minds, and we'll all be back into video games all over again. I think the video game industry is going to crash one of these days. Not anytime soon, but I just think it's going to get so mainstream and so streamlined that it's just you're going to overflood the market, and people aren't going to be able to afford it, and people aren't going to be as interested in these games anymore, and the whole thing will just collapse on itself. I hope it doesn't happen, but you never know. So, that was kind of my ramblings on what I think about video games in the future. Doesn't sound too good, but, I'm willing to be surprised. It's just, I don't have a lot of faith in video game developers nowadays. For every, Shadows of the Damned or Catherine or, those type of games that I play, there's about 150 fucking Call of Duties and Maddens and shitty games you don't want to spend your money on, but a whole bunch of people buy them anyway, so they keep making sequels to it. God of War, that sort of game. Not that God of War is a bad game, but do we really need a fourth one? I don't think so. The story's pretty much wrapped up at this point, wouldn't you say? So, as always, comment, video responses, anything to just, kind of spur some sort of... I just want to hear what you guys think. Do you guys agree? Do you think video games are not going to be, this as big as they are right now? Or are they only going to get bigger? I really don't know how much bigger they could get. But like I said, I would love to hear you guys' opinion. I'm very open on this subject. And let's get a discussion going. So I'm going to go and try and play some Catherine and hopefully complete it within these next 3 days. I have 3 days off in a row from work. It's a fucking miracle. And I'm exhausted, though. So Team Rival Live is out. Peace, guys.